lobby groups intensifying efforts to pressure Prime Minister Albanese to revise the proposed Division 296 tax, which would raise the tax rate on super earnings above $3 million from 15% to 30%. Jonathan Stefanoni from Legal and Prudential joining me. So a very, very convincing win by the ALP. I guess that does bring some certainty then, but what do we see in terms of these superannuation potential changes?
So having continuity with government does mean that we've got a better idea of what the policy agenda looks like for the incoming Parliament. So the Div 296 tax is at the front of that list of policy items. The Senate is going to be easier for government to navigate. It looks like they will only need to get agreement from the Greens or the Coalition to get the bills through. So that will be an interesting one to watch, but we expect that the Div 296 tax bills will make their way through Parliament in some form.
So tell us what that means, I guess, on a more layman's level, and I guess what it means in terms of the government's policy priority here too.
Sure. So the government's policy priority is to maintain the social licence of the concessional tax treatment of the superannuation system. So what government is trying to achieve here is to ensure the longer term sustainability of concessional taxation by taxing individuals who have a balance over $3 million at a lower concessional rate.
In terms of, I guess, what we've been seeing though for some of this, what some people call age-based discrimination in super, what does all of that mean with, potential, I guess, further regulation that could come through?
There are other important policy initiatives which government will also look to pursue in relation to superannuation. The other one which we know a lot about is the payday super reforms. So we've had draft legislation released for consultation. That reform doesn't seem to be politically contentious. So we expect that those bills are introduced relatively early on in this Parliament.
Yeah, all right, and you're looking as well at the ASIC report on vulnerable members. What does that tell us?
So there have been well publicised failings affecting some superannuation funds in their claims handling procedures. Off the back of that, ASIC undertook a review of 10 of the largest superannuation trustees and issued a list of quite a lot of recommendations and findings for action. So this is quite interesting in that it probably does two things. It does identify some of the more egregious failings that are already well known. It also does place focus on an expectation of continued improvement around service levels. So they're often run together, but it's going to be interesting to see the way in which the industry responds to managing the risks of those more egregious failings while looking at opportunities for improvement in service levels.
And just more broadly, getting back, I guess, to that first point, given that there was such a landslide victory, it should be a lot smoother in terms of the continuity of some of these policies.
One would think so, but every time I make an attempt to predict what Parliament and the Senate in particular does, I end up being wrong. So what I would say is that it looks like the negotiations that government will need to enter into may be simpler in that they will be able to secure passage of bills in getting either the Greens or the Coalition's support for passage of legislation. That is logistically easier than having a broader range of senators that they need to negotiate with.